This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the March 2026 NOAA in the Caribbean Community Group. Really appreciate you all being here today. Please go ahead and take a moment to make sure you are muted before we go ahead and get started. Okay. We got a packed community group meeting for you all here today. First, let me introduce myself. I think I know many of you, and I've introduced myself on past community group meetings. I'm Catherine Egan. I'm the Southeast and Caribbean Regional Coordinator for NOAA. Yaritza, who is our chair for NOAA in the Caribbean, is out today. So myself and Jillian Coleman, say hi, Jillian, she's there on camera, who is our Caribbean Community Engagement Strategist, are going to be facilitating our community group meeting today. So before we jump into presentations, just a couple of quick announcements for you all. First, our next community group meeting, which is scheduled for May 15th, is going to be canceled only because our NOAA in the Caribbean annual partners meeting is scheduled for the last week of May. That's May 27th through the 29th. We sent out a couple of Google forms to our community group to get an understanding of who would like to participate in our annual partners meeting this year. We did this because we're taking a hybrid approach with the meeting. We'd like to set up some hubs for folks to gather in person and connect via the annual partners meeting, but we will also have an entirely virtual component as well. So we're looking at a couple of hubs. There will probably be two in Puerto Rico, one in San Juan and one in Mayaguez. And then we're planning to have one at the University of the Virgin Islands in St. Thomas. And then also one in Silver Spring for our NOAA folks who are up in headquarters there. Unfortunately, it looks like we might not have a Miami hub due to a low head count for that area, but we're still exploring options. And like I said, we will have an entirely, you don't have to attend a hub because all of it will just be virtual as well. So we are still putting the agenda together, but you can expect updates from NOAA's line offices and then also deep dives on specific topics that cross many NOAA's line offices. We're planning a tools cafe and followed by a tabletop exercise thereafter. So introduce you all to some NOAA tools and how to use them. That'll be a hybrid approach on our second day of the meeting. And then the hubs will probably gather together in the morning of the 29th, but then those folks will go off and do some local activities together. So again, we are still fleshing out the agenda and it is subject to change at this time, but that is what our planning committee is currently looking at. After that, our next community group meeting will be July 17th. And as always, we'll be sure to send out any announcements and agendas ahead of time. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and jump into our presentations today. So first two presentations will be focused on sargassum. It looks like things are getting a little crazy ahead of our sargassum season. So we just wanted to prepare you all for the upcoming season. We please kindly ask that if you are not talking or presenting, that you turn your cameras off for this presentation. So thank you. And with that, I'll go ahead and pass it off to Brian Barnes. Welcome, Brian. Brian presented at a community group meeting a couple of years ago, and we're really excited to welcome him back today. So Brian's a research assistant professor at the College of Marine Science at the University of South Florida, and his presentation is titled Advancing Satellite-Based Monitoring of Sargassum from the Blob to High Resolution Forecasting. Brian, thanks for being here again, and I will pass it off to you to present.
Cool, thanks so much. I'm going to try and see if this works. All right. Am you seeing like full slides and can hear me and see me and all that kind of stuff?
Seeing full slides and we can hear you well.
Ah, success. Okay, Cool. Well, thank you so much, Catherine, for the introduction. And I'm really pleased to come back and speak to this group after 2 years to really update on what we've been able to achieve as a result of a project from the NOAA MAREHAB program, as well as a longstanding effort that's supported by a number of people, many of whom are listed as collaborators on this slide here. But also different funding agencies and collaborative organizations. The IUCs, and particularly CARICUS, is relevant here. As Catherine said, we're talking, from the blob, which I'll kind of define in a bit, to high resolution forecasting, and it's really the goal of what we're trying to get at is away from kind of coarse resolution sargassum observations to forecasting where we're going to have problems with respect to sargassum. Like the briefest of overviews on sargassum. What is it? It's a floating macroalgae. There's 2 species that are relevant in the tropical Atlantic, although the sargassum exists worldwide. But broadly in a geographic context, the historical footprint for sargassum is primarily in the Sargasso Sea over there on the kind of the North Atlantic area. But over the last 2 decades now, we've seen the emergence of this new footprint for sargassum that we've termed the Great Atlantic Sargassum Belt. And that stretches all the way from the west coast of Africa into the Caribbean, into the Gulf of Mexico, and so forth. So this is kind of a new expansion of the sargassum footprint. Why do we care about sargassum? Offshore, it's considered essential fish habitat. It's an oasis of biological activity in the pelagic zone. So you have critically important species, turtles, fish, invertebrates, and so forth. There's a whole lot of life going on in these sargassum patches. But the problem obviously becomes, especially as we've seen this expansion in the Great Atlantic Sargassum Belt, when large inundations of sargassum occur into inshore environments, you have really, really negative downstream consequences on the communities that live there, the ecosystems that exist in those coastal zones, and also the economies of these areas that have to deal with these massive inundations. All right, so I am a satellite oceanographer. I take the view from 700 kilometers up and looking down at the ocean. And the question I'm often asked is, why are we measuring sargassum from space? And the reason that I'll try and define is that the sargassum is really rare in the context of the ocean. Despite those pictures that I just showed of these huge inundations, over the span of the entire belt, your average coverage may be less than 1%. So there's really not a lot of sargassum out except for in these denser aggregation. And these denser aggregations are really, really patchy. The patchiness also extends as you go onshore. So if you may have a massive inundation into one embayment, one beach or coastline, but just a few kilometers down the beach or the coastline, you may have absolutely no impacts from a particular sargassum inundation. So it's not enough to just know that there's a lot of sargassum out there, but knowing where those small scale sargassum impacts might be is really what's helpful to do any kind of mitigation or response to sargassum. And the reason why satellites are really good at this is because they are measuring the entire ocean on essentially a daily basis. And they're really sensitive to picking up even small amounts of sargassum, something like this patch here relative to the ocean. It's really, really sensitive to picking up that kind of floating vegetation. All right, so kind of that's the framework that we built off. The satellites can see the oceans, frequently, and they can capture these patches of sargassum, and you can build those up into a picture of where is sargassum right now. And that's what we've done in creating what we call the Sargassum Watch System, or SAWS. And there are 2 main outputs of SAWS. The first is monthly bulletins. And so this is every month we'll make a retrospective analysis. Okay, this is where the sargassum is. And we can make some broad scale forecasts, something on the order of the Eastern Caribbean will start to see major sargassum offshore in the next 3 months, something like that. Or 2026 is going to be a major sargassum year, which it is, and we're already seeing build up right now in the kind of the Eastern Caribbean region, just offshore the Yucatan, on the east coast of the Yucatan, and so forth. So that's the kind of scale that we're looking at with these, what I call coarse resolution products. These global satellites are looking and they can see the entire Atlantic basin. We also generate weekly composite imagery. And so when this project started, we were more or less using a single sensor that was observing the entire ocean basin. And we would, as a result of a number of factors that I'll explain in a bit, we would produce products at 10 kilometer to 55 kilometer resolution. So each of these little squares here is half of a degree by half a degree. So we're talking about the entire sargassum picture within a very large area. And that's kind of what gave rise to the term blob, because this kind of looks like a blob of sargassum out in the middle of the ocean that's going to come swallow up. Here it's going to swallow Cuba. Maybe it's already swallowed Puerto Rico. But that's the framing that was often given to this the sargassum belt as a result of visualizations like this. But remember, sargassum is really, really patchy. The red color in here is something like 0.4% sargassum. So really, really patchy. But because of the way we were doing these analyses, this is kind of the finest resolution that we were able to reliably provide. All right, so this leads into our project that I'm updating on today, what we have done over the last couple of years, and kind of framed within the overall goals of the project. So first is multi-sensor integration for these basin-wide products. So essentially getting higher spatial and temporal resolution on that map I just showed you. But also we wanted to get use higher resolution satellites such that we can actually measure the coastal waters a little bit better, and then mix those with coastal hydrodynamic models so that we can forecast trajectories of where individual sargassum patches may be coming ashore. And then finally, all of this is wrapped up within data delivery, making sure people have access to these data and collaborative interactions in and amongst these various products. All right, so multi-sensor integration, what does that look like? Remember I said we traditionally we're using just one satellite, and this is a 3-day composite from that one satellite. And you can see even with this satellite overpassing this area 3-4 times over that 3 days, we're still have a lot of gaps. These blacks are gaps, and all of these little colors here, those represent sargassum, where sargassum is and its density. These gaps exist because of clouds and sun glint and various reasons why we can't see the ocean at that particular time. So this one sensor will give us a lot of gaps, and a different sensor will also give us a lot of gaps. This is PACE, is NASA's newest sensor. And then there's an additional suite of sensors, the FEARS framework. These also can be used to detect sargassum and produce gaps. And if you essentially put all three together, the sum is better than the individual components. So we're able to, with a multi-sensor integration of these coarse resolution, these sensors that are measuring the entire Atlantic basin, we're able to generate much more high resolution and much more complete representations of the sargassum picture. And so now the products that we are producing are, instead of that kind of half degree by half degree, we produce 1 kilometer resolution products from these global sensors and with daily compositing. Even still, these those coarse resolution sensors, the ones that measure the whole globe, they although they're great offshore waters, they are not good at detecting sargassum when you get into inshore waters. So what I'm showing here is kind of a zoom in for the Florida Keys region. And this is on the left side. And so you'll see there's a big black area around all of the land. And that's because we don't have reliable ways to take the satellite data and detect sargassum with these sensors. It's just not reliable. But there are other satellites that are measuring at higher resolution. And at higher resolution, you can get into this near shore realm a little bit better. So what I want you to do here is just compare this old product here. This is a 10 kilometer resolution product. And this is sargassum detected from a different satellite sensor, the Sentinel-2, that provides data at 10 to 30 meter resolution. And if you look offshore, you see this same kind of little swirly pattern is captured with the coarse resolution sensor. It's also captured with the high resolution sensor, but there's a lot of this inshore or near shore sargassum that's not captured with the coarse resolution product. Same thing for here. This is the same day on the left. You have an offshore patch that's visible here, and that's captured here as well. But all of this sargassum in the near shore zone that is captured with a higher resolution sensor is missed by these coarse resolution products. And again, if you're living on one of these islands, this is important to know that the sargassum is right offshore, so that we can have some preparation for it. I want to highlight here too that there becomes a problem with visualization. So here I've descaled this product from its kind of full resolution at 50 meters down to 4 kilometers, so we can compare A to B here. But if I were to zoom all the way out and present it at full resolution, you start to actually not be able to see it anymore. So this is 250-meter resolution, and even zooming even farther into that at 50-meter resolution. These are really small. Again, really patchy, really small products, and we need high resolution data sources in order to capture them. I want to highlight that this is like really state-of-the-art detection. So here's an image of St. Croix, collected, I believe, middle of last year. And I will challenge you just looking at this to find the sargassum. St. Croix is here in the middle. So this is quite a zoomed out image. And without making you look too hard, it's here. So there's the sargassum here pops up as green in this representation, and even through pretty thick clouds, through non-optimal viewing conditions, we can see the sargassum. And this representation here, these kind of blue on yellow images, the yellow is where we have an AI-enabled detection algorithm, and that's where it has identified sargassum, even through all of this haze and all of this mess. And these little dots, each one of those little dots is quite big. It doesn't look big here, but this is half of a football field in each of these little dots. All right, so what are we doing with all of this? As I mentioned, we want to have trajectories to not just know, hey, the Eastern Caribbean is maybe going to have a problem in 3 months, but this particular beach may have a problem from this particular patch. So we couple those improved those improved coarse resolution products that cover the whole globe, as well as the high resolution products that are capturing in those nearshore environments, and we wrap them up into forecast trajectories that show, hey, this is where the surface water is moving, and thus we can infer this is where the sargassum is going to move. And we can forecast this out for a couple of days, 3.5 days. And so the initial starting point here is where we've detected sargassum, and then you can see this is going through time. Every 2 hours, we get another estimate of where the sargassum will be. And you can see potential inundations happening over on the east coast of Florida. So this is actually, just produced today. This is live at this site down here. A big part of this, is data delivery. We want to make sure that these data are in the hands of, relevant stakeholders as soon as they're available. So right now we have active site pages for each of the areas in the Florida Keys and Miami regions that would be most likely impacted by sargassum. So that's all the way from the Tortugas up the Keys and up into Miami. And what that looks like on our web page here, this is today's or yesterday's image. You have a series of products for every single satellite overpass. This FAD, floating algae density product, is our derived sargassum product. And if you were to hover over that, you can get a kind of a zoom in, so that, again, this is a problem of scale. You have to descale something in order to even be able to see if there's something worth exploring on a higher resolution image. So if you click on that, you can zoom in and then click on one more time. Again, we have these really high resolution data products that are available in next to near real time. And these GE buttons here will allow you to bring that into Google Earth and play around with it in your own interface. We also have a number of stations in the Caribbean. This focus right now is on the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. That's part of the framing for this project is the U.S. Caribbean. But we have also expanded to include a little bit of Dominican Republic and Barbados just recently. So we are expanding our capabilities and our footprint for coverage with these products. And all of these are live. And final part of this is collaborations. This is the NOAA Sargassum Inundation Risk report that is produced by Joaquin and his group. And essentially the initial fields here, the red, where sargassum is derived from those high resolution detection products that I mentioned earlier, these 1 kilometer daily resolution products. And so that informs the current sargassum position, and then NOAA and Joaquin's group will couple that with model trajectories, and develop a risk assessment for the coastlines of the Caribbean and beyond. Caracus also has a really nice product, both looking at kind of the forecast trajectories for individual particles, as well as an inundation forecast to estimate how much sargassum is anticipated over the next week to hit various parts of the coastline. And the last part of the collaboration is from you guys. So we, as part of this project, we have a management transition advisory group. And the purpose of this group and for the project overall is to make sure that what we are developing is useful to respond to mitigate, to remediate impacts from sargassum inundations. So if we're doing something well, if there's something we need to improve, or if you have an idea of how we can collaborate to better suit your particular use case, please reach out to us. My email's here. The website is listed right there. But this is critical for not just for this project, but for my overall framing. And this is if we don't want to just be putting data out there. We want to make sure that this stuff is usable and generates actionable information. So we'd love to get your feedback on any of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brian. So great to see the work you've all accomplished in the last few years. Just really appreciate it. We do have some time for questions. I know Brian has a hard stop at 11 today, so feel free to come off mute. You could put a question here in the chat if you'd like. So we'll just wait a second for you all to mull that over. Or you can use this time to provide feedback. Brian is requesting.
Well, if nothing else, I'll drop my email in the chat so people can have it online, because I didn't show the screen or show the slides.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi, this is Paul Jobsis. Great job, Ryan. And high resolution stuff is definitely needed. There were some of the websites you went through. You mentioned I didn't get them all copied down. With some of the, especially the one with the live sargassum information. And can you share that, or can it be shared, Catherine?
Yeah, actually, I can share the slides if that's helpful, or just all the individual web links. Whatever is the best format to distribute that is fine.
Yeah, feel free to pass any of that along to me, Brian, and I can make sure it gets out to our community group. And actually, Paul, that's a really nice segue, because I am about to present on some of these. Brian touched on a lot of these resources already, but I have a one-page document with a lot of these links as well that I'm going to send out to the community group. So thank you for the question.
Oh, anytime.
Other questions from folks on the line? Mark, please go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Catherine, and nice job, Brian. As your friendly neighborhood program manager for MareHab, I'm really glad to see the progress, and not surprised. One of the questions that I have for you, which I expect you not to be able to answer right now, because we have a 5-year research project, but I'll sort of throw out there for the group, is once the enhancements that you've demonstrated have been transitioned into NOAA AOML and into Caracoos and perhaps other places. What's the, how do we sustain, how do you think we could sustain those enhancements beyond the research grant? So just, there's no right answer here, but I'm just curious, and maybe others on the call have some thoughts too. Thanks.
Well, I will say you are right. I cannot answer this question. But I think, one driver towards that I hope is that we get momentum, and we generate something that is needed and used and a part of the workflow and the response mechanisms for in the U.S. Caribbean, in the Florida Keys, and beyond, such that it has a little bit of inertia on its own, but also maybe that it can lead to that support mechanism to allow it to be more operational rather than in this sciencey development phase.
Yeah, that's a good point. And your email with collaborations, I think that's one way that you could begin to hear as people are understanding what the power of the information you're providing. Not just collaborations, but testimony, or how is this benefiting my ability to manage an impacted resource? I think, Catherine, this group could potentially be a very powerful organization to help us understand better collectively as a community the value of the work. But thanks. Good
Absolutely.
job, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark. Okay. Cool. Well, let's give Brian a couple minutes before his next meeting. His email is here in the chat if you'd like to reach him. And yeah, thank you so much again, Brian, for presenting today. Just be prepared to come back in 2 more years. So I'll email you then.
Lots more coming. So I'll be happy to share.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right. So now we're on to part 2 of our sargassum topic for the community group meeting today, and I'm going to be presenting on that. So give me 1 moment here to get my screen set up. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Okay, getting a heart, love it, awesome. Okay, well, thanks everybody for giving me a little space to talk about some sargassum resources to help you all prepare for the upcoming sargassum season. Like we just heard from Brian, it's expected to be a bad one this year, so we just wanted to provide this refresher of what is out there to help you prepare and respond if needed. And I have a lot of information in this presentation. I am going to go through it quickly, but like I just said a few minutes ago in response to Paul's question, I do have a document with links to everything I'm going to present in this presentation today, and I'm planning to send that out to the community group right after this meeting. So don't feel panicked if you can't find something. I have it all in one place for you all. Okay, so first, hoping everybody here is very familiar with NOAA, but if you're not, I think you all know that we're a really large office or large agency in regards to mission scope. We do everything from deploying satellites to exploring the deep ocean and seriously everything in between. And we operate through this 6 what we call line office structure. And so every line office, which is listed here on the screen, generally does something related to sargassum or may even be affected by sargassum in some way. So I've kind of listed some general topics here just to show you all how this particular topic crosses our entire agency. Everything from coordination to management to monitoring to communications and outreach. I even threw our Office of Marine and Aviation Operations line office in here because their vessel operations can be affected by sargassum at sea. Our National Weather Service colleagues get calls about this if they're located in these coastal areas that are affected. So it really is something that transcends the entire agency. And so cue us here in NOAA in the Caribbean, which is part of CCART, the Southeast and Caribbean Regional Collaboration Team, which is part of NOAA's Regional Collaboration Network. So we're focused on bringing folks together across NOAA to solve issues that may affect communities and partners within our region. And so like I just demonstrated, sargassum is one of those big issues for our region that crosses the entire agency and has got some kind of capability or issue across all of our line offices as well. So through CCART and through NOAA in the Caribbean, we've been able to put together a really great team of folks from across the agency to help compile all of these resources and get an understanding of all of the resources that I'm about to present to you all today, and to also develop some of the documents that you'll see here in just a moment as well. All right, so the first thing you need to know, all of the resources I'm about to present to you all are going to be located on these two websites. The first is the Sargassum from Sea to Shore website. This is through NOAA's National Ocean Service line office. They maintain this website. It is currently in the process of being updated. We're just modifying a little bit of the language. And then if you go to this website, you'll notice there's a sidebar with like a ton of links and a ton of resources. And we're just organizing the content on that sidebar a little bit for you all. So again, everything you'll see in this presentation is going to be on this website. And then we, of course, have the CCART Sargassum website as well. This is also being updated. We're streamlining some of the content on there. If you look at it, it's just like a lot of verbiage and it can be a little overwhelming. So we're in the process of making that information a little bit clearer and more accessible for everybody as well. And the CCART Sargassum website will be linked to the National Ocean Service website. So everything you need is going to be here in this in these two websites. And once they both are updated and live, I will be sure to share that with our NOAA in the Caribbean community group. All right, so let's jump on into it. So we got a great primer from Brian on what is sargassum, why it's an issue, and there is a ton of information out there from NOAA and from our other colleagues on everything you could ever want to know about sargassum, everything from FAQs, which you can find with AOML and NOAA Coast Watch. There's also a really great sargassum webpage from our Deep Ocean Exploration Program, and the National Ocean Service has a good website on what is the Sargasso Sea. If you've been around for a while, you know that last year we did a 5-part webinar series focused on sargassum. Each webinar takes the audience through how sargassum functions and works, all the way from being at sea in the Greater Atlantic Sargassum Belt all the way to what can you do with sargassum once it washes up on your beaches. So we do kind of treat that as sort of evergreen content. And if you're looking for a really good primer on sargassum, that's a great webinar series to watch. So here's just some general information for you all. All right, next, I'm not going to get too deep into this because Brian really just did a great job of covering this in the previous presentation, but here are some forecasting and tracking tools for you all. We heard from him on the Sargassum Inundation Report developed with AOML, Coast Watch, and the University of South Florida. So basically, if you log on to this website, you'll see maps of the region that will show you which areas along the coast have the greatest risk of experiencing an inundation event. And I do also want to mention there is a citizen science component to this. If you visit this website, you should be able to find a place to submit pictures. This is really important to help validate where there are inundation events occurring. So please definitely contribute to that if you're based anywhere in the region and are experiencing these kinds of events. I personally would also love to see pictures from you all on your inundation events. So you can send us anything through our web or through our email, region.secarib@noaa.gov. I'll put that in the chat here in just a second. And then of course, Brian covered the sargassum, the satellite-based sargassum watch system developed through USF. Again, those provide the bulletins that give you an outlook on sargassum blooms based on previous months and also previous years. And then of course, Caracoos has a really excellent sargassum tracker and a ton of resources linked on their website as well. And I've actually heard from many of you that you use this resource a lot. So I just wanted to put that back out there for everybody as an awareness. Okay, so what happens if you're experiencing a sargassum inundation event? Again, we have a number of resources to help you prepare and respond. First, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, has a ton of information on sargassum inundation events. I definitely recommend taking a look at their website. They are also an agency that responds to these kind of events, so please review that content carefully. We can provide you a contact for somebody at the EPA if you would like as well. And then we have a close partnership with them when it comes to these kinds of events. So a lot of our NOAA resources are actually linked on their website as well. And then we're linking the EPA website on the National Ocean Services website. So everything is connected and you should be able to find everything if you're trying to prepare or respond to these. We also have the NOAA Sargassum Inundation Event Disaster Guide. This is in both English and Spanish. Basically, if you're dealing with an event and you need to get in touch with somebody at NOAA, you can take a look here to see which person would be the right person to connect with. So basically, who should you contact at NOAA if you're dealing with an inundation event? And then I also wanted to link a really great resource from NOAA's Office of Response and Restoration. This one's focused specifically on oil spills and to assist those who work in oil spill response and planning where pelagic sargassum may be at risk of interacting with the oil spill. NOAA's Office of Response and Restoration also has this really interesting blog post about how pelagic sargassum was an issue during the BP oil spill. So please take a look at those resources as well if you happen to work within that field. Okay, policy and management. NOAA Fisheries Southeast Regional Office has a really great FAQ on sargassum management in the southeastern United States. Please review that. That should detail offshore management of sargassum. And then back in September 2024, we published a nearshore sargassum management policy analysis and agency gaps assessment. This is an overview of how NOAA as a whole manages sargassum and also details some policy recommendations too. And then we have another really great resource that was developed from a working group that was involved with last year's sargassum workshop that we put on here at NOAA that details the sargassum regulatory framework. So this describes the not just NOAA, but other federal agencies' regulations on managing sargassum out offshore all the way to when it washes up on beaches. So please review this if you're just looking for an overview of the regulatory landscape in general. And I actually think we have a couple of those authors who are on the line today if you have any questions about that. And finally, some funding opportunities. We have the Harmful Algal Bloom Event Response Program managed by NOAA's National Centers for Coastal Ocean Science. So a program that provides some modest funding, support, and planning to assist in HAB events. Please review this website carefully if you're looking to seek this kind of funding, if you're experiencing a HAB event, and you can also reach out to the program manager via this email here. And then there's a current notice of funding opportunity open, prevention, control, and mitigation of harmful algal blooms program, also managed by NOAA's National Centers for Coastal Ocean Science. Felix is on the line today, actually, if you have any questions. He's a program manager for this particular NOFO. Letters of intent are due April 14th, and then the full proposals are due May 14th. Please, again, just review that notice of funding opportunity language very carefully if you think you have a project that may match this call for proposals. All right, and with that, I am happy to take any questions that you all may have. If you're just like generally confused on where to go to at NOAA in regards to anything sargassum related, you can again, just reach us at our generic email and we can put you in touch with the right person or provide you with the right resource. And I just am providing an overview. So if I can't answer your question, I'll definitely point you to the right person. And yeah, I hope that this was a helpful presentation for you all in helping everybody get ready for the upcoming sargassum season. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see if there are any questions, or if any of my folks on the line who've been assisting with anything sargassum related would like to come off mute and provide clarification on anything presented today. Okay, I am not seeing anything. Cool. All right. Did an amazing job then. Awesome. All right. Well, if you all are experiencing sargassum inundation events, best of luck this upcoming year. I hear you all. I'm based in the Florida Keys and also kind of are affected by these as well. So hopefully this resource helps you all prepare a little bit better for the season. All right, with that, I am going to go ahead and stop our recording for today before we enter the next part of our community group meeting.